Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guess who's back? It's that rascal, bomber pretty boy with that boxing insight and knowledge for your head top. Francis Ngannou, Anthony Joshua, we're here. Knockout chaos, Saudi Arabia, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Turki Al Sheikh. It's going off, man. First thing I just want to say is shout out to Ariel Helwani. He's a big fan of the channel, and you know, he says I'm a big inspiration to him. So I just want to say, listen, I appreciate that. You haven't done too badly yourself. But on a serious note, Ariel Helwani has been so good, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know the dude from his MMA stuff, but I don't know if he's ever covered a boxing event before. This is the first time I've seen him, right? Ariel Helwani is $1 million at this thing, bro. Like, he's so good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the way that he picks up cues, the way he improvises things on his feet, he never misses a word, he never messes up, stalls, nothing like that. Insightful. Ariel Helwani is the fucking don, man. Like, we need to get him on more boxing. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just wanted to shout that out. I don't know if anyone else has noticed as well. Let me know what you guys think. But his skills on the mic, next level, bro. Um, but yeah, let's get into. We're gonna get into the main event. We're gonna get into the co-main as well. Zhilei Zhang versus Joseph Parker, and we're also gonna talk about some other stuff like Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. But I think I'm gonna make a separate video for that. So in this one, let's get straight into the undercard. Parker versus Zhang. Fuck all them other bums that fight. I don't know who they are anyway. Um, Zhang versus Parker, great fight, great fight, great fight. I would have been interested. I think I've said this before. I would have been interested to see the rematches first. I would have been interested to see Zhang versus Hergovich. Yeah, because a lot of people think that was, a bit of an iffy decision. And so let's see Zhang like really fucking do it to Hergovich. And let's see Parker um, against Joyce, because obviously Joyce banged Parker up. But since then, Parker has gone strength to strength, and Joyce has been knocked out twice. So, those would have been two really intriguing rematches. And then if Parker can, overturn the defeat to Joyce, and if Zhang can overturn the defeat to Hergovich, then they come together. Then it kind of feels like a bigger fight. I kind of feel like with this, it's a little bit But anyway, we are where we are. Zhang versus Parker, it's a close fight. It's a tough one. Long story short, if I was putting money down, which I'm not, I'd probably put it on Parker just because he's been the more active guy and there's a look in his eyes. Like the guy looks serious, man. The guy just looks about is busy, man. He just looks like he's ready to stand on business. And, the confidence that would have come with beating Wilder and being active as well, he just looked like a man that knows what he's got to do and is about to do it. But with Zhang, like the guy is big, man. He's just a big dude, bro. He's a big dude. He's not afraid to let his hands go. A lot of people thought he beat Hergovich. I don't know. It looked very close to me. I probably might have had Hergovich stealing it, but people who were there will say that, he steamrolled Hergovich. And so it's hard to say, man. And he hasn't been as active as Parker. And that's just something that I feel like could play a role. You know, like he's had them too. So he hasn't fought anyone other than a big, slow Joe Joyce, who was an accident waiting to happen, for a while, right? And before them Joyce fights, I don't think he had fought maybe since that Hergovich fight. So he's had maybe like three fights in like 2 years or something, whereas Joyce has had like four fights in 1 year. Do you know what I'm saying? So he's been a lot more active. And yeah, I think anything could happen. I wouldn't be surprised by the only result I'd be surprised by is maybe a Parker knockout. A Parker knockout would surprise me. But I think the most likely outcome is Parker on points, followed by Zhang on points. But I wouldn't rule out a Zhang knockout either. Because listen, Parker's been stopped before. And we don't know whether that Wilder performance, do you know what I mean, might have flattered him. Like flattered him. Like Wilder didn't look very good, bro. He didn't look very good at all. He didn't look good physically, like, you know, how slim he came in, the way he was talking, it just sounded like he was happy to be there and pick up a payday. He didn't really sound like he really wanted that AJ fight. And so yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't know, as is always the case with heavyweight boxing, but I feel like just on the basis of the momentum and, you know, the activity and the look in his eyes, I think maybe Parker could nick it, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if it went the other way. But good fight, definitely. Um, let's talk about the main event then. I think something that's been interesting is that people have realized that despite the posters, I think the posters are fucking disrespect, to be honest with you. Despite the posters that make like Ngannou look like the Hulk and Anthony Joshua look like a heavyweight boxer, you know what I mean? And one is obviously a lot more imposing than the other. In reality, like Joshua's probably the bigger man. You know, he's definitely taller. Width wise, like build wise, they're about the same, you know. But overall, Joshua is the bigger man, you know. And I think like people have got a little bit carried away with the fucking that African like poncho or whatever. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but like, you know, that poncho that he was wearing, you know what I mean? The African gown or whatever made like Ngannou look like twice as wide as he actually is. But yeah, now we've seen him in the weigh-in, like, you know, people talking about, oh, it's the first time he's gonna fight a bigger man. Like Klitschko was bigger than Josh, you know. I think there might be one other one as well. But yeah, the point is the the size difference, you know, isn't really there, and if anything, it's the opposite. Um, and I do like the whole thing with Ngannou, how he kind of has this smirk on his face. And Ariel Helwani asked him about it and said, "What's the smirk about?" And he said it because it's funny to me because, you know, English isn't his first language, so I'll paraphrase. But he was basically saying it's funny to me because, you know, you can try and stare me out all you want, but me and you both know, like, you take these boxing rules away, like I'm holding your life in my hands, rude boy. Do you know what I mean? I'm holding your life in there. That's what I would honestly, if I was a boxer, if I was talking shit, if I was Francis Ngannou, bro, I would fucking say that, bro. Like, you can stare me out all you want, yeah. I'm holding your life in my hands, rude boy. I take it even further. Fuck, I say I'm holding your son's father's life in my hands. Do you know what I mean? And that's the kind of phrase that you'd have to like work backwards in your head. You're holding my son's father's life. Oh, you know what I mean? And especially for someone like a boxer, it must be a disconcerting feeling, you know. And he said it to Fury as well, like, yo, these boxing rules are all you got, but piss me off, bro. Stay within 5 minutes, yeah. I mean, snapped his fingers like Thanos, bro. I could turn your lights out, bro. And I think, honestly, I feel like that's something that Francis could have like maybe tried to play the mind games with a bit more, like, you know, in the face off and that, you know, what they did with Ade, like just to say that, look, I mean, it must be hard for an alpha male character, you know, like gold medalist, double world champion, whatever, just to know that, look, if we were to be locked in this room, I'm walking out, you know, fuck all the boxing thing, bro. Like, I'm holding your life in my hands. I'm the fucking alpha, bro. Do you know what I mean? And and I think Joshua's a bit of a deep thinker. It probably might be fucking with him a little bit. I don't think he probably would enjoy that reality or being confronted with that reality. But you know, like he said it to Ariel, and I suppose it counts for saying. But you know, if we think about how the fight's gonna play out, and we've kind of put all of the you know, a lot of the allure of boxing is the mind games beforehand, but often a lot of those mind games at the same time, it might sell a few pay-per-views, but how much does it really impact what goes on in the ring? Sometimes it does, often it doesn't. And so Joshua's just like the more experienced guy, man. And I think you can make an argument either way on a number of the other variables. So people talk about how the element of surprise has gone with Ngannou, but not necessarily. You know, if anything, there's even more to think about now because you've seen him fight against one fighter, but you don't know if he's going to do the same thing, right? He could do, you know what I mean? Like, just because he was able to counterpunch Fury, right? Which was interesting, he was able to not just devise, but also execute a game plan like that against a fighter like Fury in his first fight. So, what could he devise and execute against you? You know, you don't know if it's going to be the same thing. So, I think the element of surprise is still there, right? But the other thing is that whether or not Francis is going to be better or worse, right? Just in terms of like the conditioning, the readiness to fight. Now, the positive case that you can make for Francis is that when he fought Fury, he hadn't fought in nearly 2 years, and had only had one fight in the best part of 3 years in any discipline, right? Which was the fight he had against Silgan because of his knee injury, right? So, he came into that fight having not fought in any way, shape, or form for the best part of 2 years, really like the dramatic, potentially career altering like knee surgery that he came off, right? And still look really, really, really good. So what's he going to look like having just 4 or 5 months ago, right? He's going to be much better shape, much better confidence. He didn't know whether he could do 10 rounds before. Now he knows that he can do 10 rounds in the bag, at a good pace. Yeah. So all of that you could say it's going to be a long night for Joshua. But on the other hand, like the bear case that you could make for Francis is to say, and I actually think that there might be something in this, is that I don't care who you are, what your story is. Like, if you made in one night more than you made in your entire career put together, that's going to change you somewhat, right? And I do wonder whether it's all a bit too much too soon for Francis, because he had the same thing, even though he denies it, but, Dana White, the UFC, claimed that he had the same thing with UFC when he first, like, blew up, and started, I think, being seen as like the guy and started making a little money. He kind of like became a bit of I don't know. I was going to say legend in his own mind. That's probably a little bit harsh, but he kind of maybe took his foot off the gas and then lost his next fight to Stipe. And so I do wonder whether, what I mean, copping 10 milli, or it's, some people say 10, some people say 12. Yeah. Probably depending on the upside, but let's say cop 12 milli, yeah. And the most you've ever copped is 600K. Yeah. So you've made 20 times your highest purse. Yeah. That's a lot of money. Now you're making double again. So you're making 40 times what you ever made in the UFC, your highest purse in the UFC, right? And so, like, you must have shit going on in your life. Like, okay, what am I gonna do with this dough? What do I mean? I'm gonna buy the yard, I'm gonna buy this. Like, what do you know what I mean? My mama needs this. I mean, uncle needs that, right? You must have a lot of shit going on in your life, which is new for you, right? And the thing that I worry about with Francis is that it doesn't seem like he was in the gym after the Fury fight, until this fight was already signed. And then he was still talking about, okay, we'll see who's available and where we're going to do the camp. And it only seemed like he was even, because Josh was supposed to fight Wilder, right? And so it only seems that Ngannou really got his camp together maybe 6 weeks ago, right? But it seems like Joshua, even though he fought more recently, yeah, he fought obviously towards the back end of December, just before Christmas. It seems like he was literally straight back in the gym the next day from what's been reported and what he's been talking about. That literally 23rd flew back home, did the Christmas thing, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Was like even before like New Year's, was straight back in the gym, and so like the fact that AJ's got 3 fights last year and he's, what I mean, got straight back in the gym, has been a little bit more focused, whereas Ngannou maybe only like mid-January, end of January got into a camp, and now here we are in March fighting. I just don't know whether you can necessarily do everything that you need to do in that time frame. So yeah, long story short, Joshua should get the job done. Points or knockout. I'm gonna fuck. That's a tough one. Points or knockout. What do you think? Get in the comments. But I think maybe Joshua gets him out of there. Just because the way he's fighting right now, the way he's looking, he seems like he's got the eye of the tiger. You know, Camp with Ben Davison seems to be exactly what he needs. he looked pretty fucking ferocious against Otto Wallin. So, gun to my head, I might go with Joshua by knockout, but I think, Joshua by points as well wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I'm probably going 51-49. You know, yeah, he could go by points. And the other thing is, like, with Ngannou, like, we know he's got heavy hands. If nothing else, we know he's got heavy hands. He could catch Joshua with a temple shot. We know that his equilibrium is somewhat susceptible to a temple shot. So I think it's going to be interesting to see whether Francis has done his homework and has done that. But probably, Joshua breaks him down to the body. I mean, couple uppercuts, couple left hooks. I mean, loosens him up, and then second half of the fight starts dropping in the right hand, and maybe it's over from there. So that's the way I'm seeing it, guys. Enjoy the show. It should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. Look out for this Ryan Garcia video. Peace.